Africa is home to 1 billion people. This vast continent is a melee of cultures and identities. For the past century, there's been a mass human migration in sub-Saharan Africa, as families leave their rural way of life behind and establish homes in towns and cities. Growing up in the Sudan and in newly independent Kenya, I've watched this movement of people. I've been photographing here since the early 1970s. Recording the changing face of Africa has always been my passion, and it's the focus of my photography. Traveling out to remote parts of the continent, I'm able to record what still exists of the old, and also photograph what's new and emerging. Despite the city's powerful magnetic draw, surprisingly, most of Africa's billion people do still live out on the land. It's a fascinating time, because within the next 10 years, that balance will tip, and the majority of Africans will become town and city dwellers. If I could find the same rural people I photographed 2 or 3 decades ago, I think they'd give me a vivid insight into Africa's story of change. This wild land of North Kenya is one of my favorite places on earth, and it's home to a semi-nomadic group called the Samburu. Here in 1984, I took a series of portraits of 5 young Samburu women. Because of their nomadic ways, who knows where those women might be today, or even whether any of them will still be alive. But I would like to try and track them down, and for that I'll need the help of an old friend.
Kibirichi! Howdy! How are you?
Fine, thanks. Fine.
Yeah.
Kila kitu mzuri.
Mzuri sana.
Ndio.
Well, we've come all this way to talk to you about a plan. We have a plan.
The young women whose portraits I'd taken in 1984 were all from traditional Samburu clans living with livestock. 30 years on, I want to know what's become of them, and if Kiberiti will help me find them again.
Is that something that you could come with us?
Yes, I'll come with you.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Excellent. Do you need to get yourself ready or anything?
I think I could put just a trouser on.
Okay.
And then I'll finish with you.
We found you without trousers, without anything.
I was very happy to see you on the...
Nice, so good. Were you surprised?
Easter.
Yeah. Were you surprised to see me?
Yes. I saw it. I just saw the car while I was standing here. I saw you on the... I recognize it's you.
Really? You thought, who's that?
Yeah. Harry.
These 5 women, I mean, what's your instinct? How do we start to look for them and find them?
I think the way to start looking for these girls is to search out from the old names, the one they had before.
The family names?
Their
original family names?
Yeah, the original family name.
Do you think they will still be living traditional lives?
I think some, it might be because they never change. If you've been married by the cows people, they will be just on they won't change. Or if they've been married at the town, at the time it changed.
So people in the cities change faster?
Yeah, faster.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. It will be a long journey to go and look for them because ni kama kuweka shindano, usi kwa shindano.
Looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Samburu land covers an area of 8,000 square miles. That's a region the size of Wales. So I don't doubt Kiberiti when he tells me that our search for the 5 women will be no small task. Drought is a recurrent part of Africa's climate. It's not a rarity here, and the Samburu have adapted their lifestyles to deal with it. Since 1984, there have been at least 3 cataclysmic droughts, in which most Samburu lost virtually all their livestock, and many people died. My fear, I suppose, would be to find out that the women in the photographs have suffered. Kiberiti suggested that we return to the place I took the photographs and speak to his friend Douglas. He thought Douglas might know the family names of some of the women.
Do you recognize any of these girls? No.
You know, it's a long time.
30 years is a long time. It's a lifetime.
Yeah. Try to put your memory. Samburu, you can marry from Mwamba, so you can bring the wife here. So Samburu should keep on migrating, and they might be now very fast. Today maybe you are in Shamba.
Everybody, but that's the story of all societies now.
So you might get one in Turkana.
Yes.
You might also get the other
Nairobi.
one in Nairobi.
Of course.
Even in London.
Douglas spread the word that we were searching for the 5 women. Though he, like Kiberiti, warned me it wasn't going to be easy. Douglas explained that women generally marry into a different clan, and once they've taken on their husband's name and moved away to live with his family, they'd be hard to trace. But what if they hadn't married, I asked. Douglas just laughed and said that wasn't an option in a Samburu girl's life. The Samburu tribe are divided into 9 clans. Outside of towns, they for the most part continue to live steeped in their tribal tradition. When I arrive at a community, if people are amenable to having their portrait made, I put up a studio tent.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like a Victorian studio portrait. He wouldn't need one of those neck braces to keep him still. Absolutely like a statue. Fantastic. Mzee, ninafurahi sana. Huh? Ni mzuri. Wewe unasimama nama ni kama mawe. Ndio. Yeah. 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 You're just as still as a rock. Yeah.
Albert lama sili. Hala. Wah, kita segera ngom. Kita segera.
Huh?
Indo kita segera. Bayu kan lupa mani kan. Yan nga na ruge. Bayu. Bagi apa yo kan almar. Hane. Bayu ko may dapat. Mumbai.
Parajo. Sejur.
Dilo ko para jaga kenyal pele.
Na joye. Sejur. Sejur.
I've just had my first positive lead. One of the Samburu women has been recognized by a relative. He believes Nditu Lekasolai is now married to his brother and that she's living on this hillside. gobsmacked if she's actually here. That's her in the yellow? No. Indito? No. No. She hasn't spotted us yet. Here we are. Yes. Yes. Indito! Habari. Habari yako. Habari yako. Sasa mzee. Samani. 1984. Mimi napiga picha. Wapi wewe? Nani?
Oi mama Ranjito.
Ni wewe. Wewe nakumbuka siku ile? Nakumbuka siku ile. Sasa ni mwaka 30. Mimi napiga picha hii. Nakumbuka siku ile.
Apa ni wewe?
Naona mama. Ha? Ay. Sasa weko kijana ngapi? Weko 7. Her oldest child is 24. She's a grandmother many times over. So exactly 6 years after I took the picture, Indito got married and started having children. That's great. Oh, it's incredible. It's amazing to find her 30 years on. And what was the happiest time of Indito's life? What really surprised me about photographing Indito and finding her is that in 30 years, she's only moved 2 miles, settled down and had a family. And so the whole pattern of a semi-nomadic group has completely changed over 30 years. They're no longer traveling great distances in search of pasture. I asked Indito what's the furthest away place she'd been in her life. She told me it was when she went on a shopping trip to Kasima. That's a small town 12 miles from where she lives. It's interesting to me that it was a town as opposed to some wild, far-off place. Small towns certainly are an irresistible allure all over Africa. And they're vital to people's livelihoods as marketplaces where they can buy and sell livestock and produce. It's fantastic. It's a lovely pot of tea. It's the Cereal Hotel, but a hotel in this part of the world isn't a place where you stay, it's a place where you eat. It's a restaurant. Oh, hello.
Yes.
Is this your hotel?
Yeah.
Can I take a picture of you and the mural? Thank you. I like your t-shirt. Excellent, thank you, sir. What is your speciality? What do you serve?
I just sell rice, beans, and potatoes. The plate of 50 shillings per plate. The tea, cup of tea, 20 shillings per cup.
20 shillings for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So that's good value.
That's chapati, some chapati.
That's about 20p a cup. That's a very good value. Yeah, excellent. Can I have a cup of tea?
Yeah, come on.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's very sweet. It's already got the sugar in it. It's very, very sweet. Delicious. The people who travel into these small market towns to sell their produce or buy goods often come from a place way out in the land, a place they still call home. But Samburu territory is surrounded by other tribal groups. There are more people on the land than there once were, so there's greater conflict over grazing and water. Cattle can never be more than half a day's walk from drinking water. In the remote parts of northern Kenya, traditional singing wells are still very much in use. My search for the 4 remaining women continues. And I've just met someone who thinks they know Mary Leshupai. If it really is her, she'll be living near a place called Bawa, with the married name of Mary Lekalja. I've been given directions and driven out to the open flatlands to speak to the community elders. We have a girl here. I have a mystery. There's a girl here called Mary Leshupai. This picture of Mary was taken in 1984.
84. I know.
You do? Chief Paul, you know everybody. You know, how old is she now?
It's very old. You want to see her?
Yeah. Let's go and meet her.
Go back then.
Yeah? We go back. Oh, yes. Yes, okay. Let's go and try there.
He's the one standing there.
What? Ni Mary? Kwa picha yako? Habari? Aishi? Mary? Mary, tafadhali one. Mimi ona hiyo. Hii ni wewe? Hii ni nani? 1980 ni mwaka 30. Tunakwisha pita.
Oi, mayo, marayon.
Does she recognize? Is it her? What does she say?
Agani.
Ama.
Does she recognize herself?
Maybe first confirm. You know, it is a very long time ago.
Warnan.
Chief Paul, what was her name before she was married?
She was Leshupai.
So this is the right name? Nani yeye? She is the one, but she doesn't. Does she recognize it? Yeah. Huh? It is the. It is her. It's is it really? It's definitely her. It is her. Why isn't it working? Chief Paul, how many children does Mary now have? 8 children. 8 children. Any grandchildren?
Yes.
Do any of Mary's boys have jobs in the city, or do they all work with cattle? Cattle. They're all cattlemen. Support the paper jam, remove the paper jam and press the resume button on the printer. Reprint the page you were printing. Think of that. I couldn't understand at first why Mary found it so hard to identify herself. I suppose I took it for granted that most of us grow up surrounded by family photographs and pictures of our childhood, images that remind ourselves of how we looked and reinforce our self-identity.
Mary, your picture. Incredibly concentrated look that Mary has. Looking back 30 years, seems to be bringing back very deep memories.
Mary still lives with cattle, but like Nditu, she too now lives in a permanent homestead with her family. Time on the move with their herds is now largely a thing of the past for the Samburu. Our continued search led Kiberiti and I out to the furthest reaches of Kenya's northern deserts. But we still had no news of the other 3 Samburu women. Across the rest of Africa, a good number of pastoralist tribes continue to move with their herds, in constant search of grazing. Some of these pastoralist groups still live very traditional lives and seem to be almost immune to the city's strong magnetic pull. To find these people today, I have to head much further out into the heart of Africa. One group I've been keen to photograph for a very long time is the Mundari. But their newly independent country of South Sudan has been blighted by civil war and turmoil for over 30 years. There's no knowing what kind of reception I'll get from a people whose entire lives have been dominated by bloodshed and war.
Look at this.
The camps where the Mundari keep their herds, in amongst the Nile tributaries, are often very remote and totally inaccessible to vehicles.
Salam. Good morning. Madak. Madan. Madan. Madan.
Hey,
Madan. 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 Salam. 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 That's good. Wow, this is a great camp. Fantastic. Salam. Madan. 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 Ah, Madan. So where's the headman, Clement? Where is the headman? This is the headman? Ah, excellent. Madan. How are you? What's his name, Clement?
No, Loco guy. It's called Loco.
Loco. Logo. Clement, can you ask Logo if we can do some photography in his camp today? Yeah?
La fanga ko lota bana ngur logon wor all over the Africa ko wor Africa lo link ga ngur link logo kamono kichu go sota tena ngur lokata ko chuku ko seur ja mini ziu inu kagna Kenya ko Zambia kagna Africa link ngur lo kamono kichu ate indika waraga naga ko foni na ka kanne to pun ko ka terke ka he ko to ko ngi ke jinani ngur li sada to la ka ngero la ka di lisolo.
How does Melek feel about that?
Nande. Kajina na aloko marte mare. Marlo lo chuelo la ho. Yala lo grim marlo lo ne ay.
Ayo. Sekene.
How does he feel about that? They're welcoming us.
They're very happy.
But Clement, he doesn't seem very happy. Is he happy?
Yes, they say these cattle camps has 2 leaders. There's the other one for this side and the other one for the other side.
Which is his camp?
This one, Suelilulia. Yellow. From here up to there.
From here to there. And the other leader is down there.
Yes.
Well, should we start at this end?
Yes.
So just make sure that we're in his camp. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, very good. Excuse me? Thank you very much. That's good. Thank you. It's in there. It's inside there.
But I have to take it back to process it in the laboratory in England, and then it comes out. Yeah?
Dikada jongala kadi you England. Kona ki development nago book nago poni surati.
Kona kun ba. Not sure whether he understood that one. Look, have a look. Yeah, look. You see? Beautiful?
Mafi.
Huh? Mafi? Huh?
Mafi.
Okay, one second. I love your hat. Fantastic hat.
Okay, they say the three point important with the cows. They will take milk, and then they also will eat the meat, and then also will be pay for the woman when you are married.
How many cattle do they have?
Yes.
Wow.
Pay for
Really, for a bride?
Yes.
How do you make the hair like that?
Okay, I don't attend that. Okay.
And when the Dinka come to raid the cattle, what do they use? Do they use spears or clubs? How do they defend the cattle? That's fantastic. Look at that. Wow. And do they have lots of spears here?
Yes.
Yeah. During the dry season, young Mundari men and women leave their villages and take their herds down to the floodplains around the Nile in search of pasture. They spend all day out grazing, but before nightfall, the animals return to camps for protection. It's an incredibly magical moment, all the cattle, the lowing cattle coming back at dusk. And they come in, there's about 1,000 in this camp, and each cow returns to the same peg it was the night before. In fact, where it always goes. They know exactly where they belong. It's just they're creatures of habit. Mundari have this incredible bond with their cattle. They're treated like family. They are family. What's happening is that the girls just wait in the little circle of pegs, waiting for the particular cows to come back, and then they just put a noose around their neck, peg them to the ground, and that's that. It's moored for the night. It's fantastic, incredible sense of order about it. They park in cars, absolutely incredible. Back in the Mundari villages, the elders, as well as the mothers and small children, are waiting for the rains to arrive so they can begin planting.
Nanguyemba Achara. Miriam Moret with Mukat.
Yes, 25.
25 cows for his wife.
But they're still demanding other.
I'm sorry? They're still demanding more, but how long ago did he get married?
Ngajimje anda kodig lakin koji jore chulu jai gorlu polo koryam.
30 years and he still is in debt for his wife.
Yes.
That's a long time to be paying for your wife.
Mangorju kao kodidi ni gor.
Yes, he's for defending himself and also for hunting.
So this is for shooting people?
For shooting, yes, he will shoot for...
They're nasty looking arrows. Has he shot a person with those?
Adengu tulangu penga. Api pia di dong penga ngutu.
They have system, they cannot tell you how, when he should go somewhere.
He's got a secret.
Yes.
A secret, how many people? Can we have his permission to camp tonight here?
Yeah,
Just tonight? We'll leave in the morning?
Taga ai toto.
Yes.
Mataure angata toto.
He say you go to the home.
It's incredibly kind of this family just to let me pitch a tent in their compound. I can't imagine in England if you walked into somebody's backyard and said, "Can I pitch my tent?" You'd get quite such a warm welcome. Rain has finally brought relief for the Mundari. But within a few days, roads will be impassable and bridges washed away. Mundari land will remain cut off and inaccessible for months. Such isolation from outside influence has certainly played its part in retaining Mundari culture. But there are not many parts of Africa where the powerful lure of city life is not felt. The whole continent is on the move. All about I see people rooted in their past, yet propelled forward towards an urban future. Everyone in the city is here to earn their living. Hand-painted signs advertise what's for sale. These shopfront murals began life by being a very clear and effective way to communicate across a vast population composed of so many different tribal languages. The signs of goods and services for sale promise a new and an exciting life to many rural people coming in from the countryside.
I've done restaurants, butcheries, salons, shops.
Is it a satisfying job?
It is really satisfying and really annoying. They want it to be this way. I want it to be like a brown face. I want it to be yellow face. Was this man happy? Is he happy with this one?
He's so happy, but maybe 95% happy. The 5%, like, please, can you come tomorrow and fix the eyes a little bit?
The city certainly is the place to come and make money. But just 100 miles from this densely packed metropolis, there's a group of people who resist the draw of the city, and for whom money has no value or use at all. The Hadzabe are one of the very few African groups who still survive entirely as hunter-gatherers. They, like pastoralists and nomads, cling resolutely to a traditional way of life, while the rest of Africa changes all about them. The Hadzabe are masters of survival in this harsh land of theirs. They find drinking water high in a baobab. A pool of rainwater has collected way up in the hollow of the tree. Hadzabe hunting weapons have changed little with time. Their bows and arrow shafts are made from a sturdy local tree. Their feather flights are taken from hawk and guinea fowl wings. And their arrowheads are tipped with a poison brewed from a toxic plant.
Golfani, mishale kama hiyo naweza tumia kwa kupiga nyama gani?
Hii ako tunatumia kupiga hii twiga, pundamilia, mbogo, pofu na simba.
Simba?
Naweka hii.
Lakini wewe panakula simba?
Simba. Mimi nakula.
Nakula? Kweli?
Nyama hii tu simba.
Kweli?
Tunapenda sana nyama ya simba maana ni tamu sana.
Kweli? Kweli, wewe unakwisha kula?
Mimi nakula sana. Mimi nyewe naua.
Ndio.
Golfani's band of hunters have no means of storage. They rely entirely on what can be harvested in a single day. And they have no use for money because their currency is their skill as hunters. But across Africa, only a few groups of people still manage to survive as hunter-gatherers. The Batwa pygmies of the East African forest have been, for the most part, squeezed off their land and are now living in refuge on the edges of small towns. The Khoisan Bushmen of the Kalahari are equally threatened. The Wata of Tsavo, who once lived by hunting elephants, have long been forced to give up hunting. The Hadzabe, meanwhile, cling to a tradition that's now virtually extinct across the continent. I'd photographed Onka and his band of hunters on a previous visit. I now had their portraits for them.
Jano! Maliange! Ababia! Uyu! Kubobo! Pana kota tumika! Kububu, nenda kamu. Baik, aku ada asale Dito aku yun. Oh siya mabait natin na
Golfani, wewe nakwisha fika town? Wewe bado kufika?
Bado.
Na Shako, wewe nakwenda? Wewe siende? Bado.
Mchinjwa bure huko.
Kweli?
Watu mingi huko sisi wazee kama naenda watu mingi baadaye na kuchinja nyonga.
Kweli?
Sisi naogopa kufika.
Kweli?
Sisi ni watu wa polini. Ndio maana mila yetu hatutaki kupoteza. Tukae polini tu. Tumesimama hapo hapo hatuongezeki.
Wewe panataka kazi ya tawi?
Tabu. Naambiwa baadaye leta kodi. Mbaya.
Wewe sitaki kodi. Wewe hapana lipa kodi.
No.
Golfani's hunters are preparing for a baboon hunt tomorrow at dawn. Baboons are highly prized by the Hadzabe, and they're exceptionally difficult to hunt. A young man, in order to demonstrate his skill as a hunter and prove that he'll be capable of supporting a wife and family, must first shoot at least 5 baboons.
Sasa hivi kaka sisi tunataka kuingia kwenye korongo ndefu.
Ndio.
Ya sasa hivi. Ya sasa hivi. Hii hapa amepita hapa.
Amepita hapa.
Muone.
Okay.
Sio huko.
It's the whole story of the hunt. A whole reenactment of the hunt that Onkas performed. It's a huge, huge alpha male baboon. That's food for the whole group. And a baboon of this size is a real cause for celebration.
Fewer and fewer groups of people in our world remain able to practice their traditional ways. It may be just a matter of time before the Hadzabe too will be forced to move towards a homogenized urban society. The anthropologist Margaret Mead warned that one day all human experience might be reduced finally to an amorphous, commercialized culture. Her worst nightmare was that we'd wake up one morning and not even remember what we'd lost. Back in northern Kenya, Kiberiti and I discovered sad news about Elisa, who was one of the 5 young Samburu women I'd photographed in 1984. Elisa had contracted HIV and died of AIDS in the year 2000.
She was my sister. She's younger than me. She went to Isiolo to our relative who are there, between Wamba and Nanyuka. She left a baby, small baby.
Generations of African children have lost their parents to AIDS. The statistics for the disease in sub-Saharan Africa tell a terrifying story. On average, 169 people have died every hour from AIDS for the last 15 years. The orphans are often left to be raised by their grandparents. All over Samburu land, clans are gathering to perform a rare ceremony that only occurs once every 10 or so years. The Lenkana Lemuget is a vitally important rite of passage in a Samburu man's life. It marks the point that a Moran, a man of warrior age, is initiated to become a junior elder. This ceremony only takes place once a decade, because it's the moment each generation moves on. All the young men together, as a collective group.
Very good. Well done. Safi, huh? Aishuling. Asante. Asante.
The initiation takes place in a large, specially built corral called a larura.
So each of the Morans are staying by their house at the moment?
Yes.
Yes, I see.
Standing by.
Yes, standing by. I don't know which one of these cows is for the chop, but each of the 68 houses around the perimeter of this larura has a young man who's being initiated today in his muget, and each one has to sacrifice an animal. So
that's the signal everyone's been waiting for. It's a momentous occasion for the Morans. It's their last day as warriors, a crucial turning point in their lives.
It's all kicking off now. They're starting to get the cattle out and over to the area where they're going to slaughter them.
The psychological pressure of the moment is deeply felt by the initiates. Some are so overwhelmed with emotion, they collapse in violent seizures, known by the Samburu as nduka. The Samburu name for this ceremony, Lemuget, translates as the death of many cattle in one place. No part of the sacrificed animals will go to waste. Each cow's dewlap is carefully skinned the jugular pierced, and the initiates drink fresh blood. This Lumuget is vitally important in the way that it reinforces the initiates' bonds and commitment to their clan and group. But today, many Samburu manage to balance their traditional roots with an entirely different, contemporary African lifestyle. I was fascinated to meet one of the initiates, Saitoti, who has a full-time job as an officer in the Kenyan Air Force.
Saitoti, why is this ceremony so important to you?
Very important because I'm going to graduate from one stage to another. From the time of circumcision up to now, it's what to mark the end of that period of circumcision, which is Uranism.
Being a warrior, a Moran.
Being a warrior. So after this, I'm going to marry. That's another exit.
You'll be allowed to marry, and you return to your job in the Air Force.
Saitoti may hold a high-tech city job, but it's still crucial for him to join the rest of his Samburu clan for the finale of the Lumuget. The dance increases in volume and intensity. Through its rhythm, the dancers build themselves up into a trance-like state of consciousness. As the tension mounts, initiates start once again to break down under the emotional strain. While the initiate is carried off, the dance continues. The dance is all important, and it can't be interrupted. It's extraordinary to me that these same dancers, one moment are entirely immersed in this timeless ritual, and the next, they effortlessly navigate the modern 21st century world. Many of these young men, it turns out, are experienced internet users. Some have created Facebook profiles. That in itself may not be surprising. What interests me, though, is that on their homepages, they've not posted images of themselves as modern city dwellers. Instead, they're dressed in full traditional tribal regalia. The duality of life here cuts to the core of my passion to photograph Africa as it moves between the past and the present. While the roots of so much African culture have undergone erosion and change, this Lumuget is conducted in a traditional way and with total conviction. As I photograph this rite of passage, I'm very conscious the world will be a decade older by the time the ceremony comes round again. I can't help wondering if the next generation of Samburu Morans will experience this ceremony with such authentic intensity. Kiberiti has good news about one final woman from the portraits I'd taken.
The way I've heard from the town, the Selina is living on this village.
Selina received word someone was looking for her, and she crossed the mountain to search us out.
She's carried a baby all the way down that incredible mountain. And the baby's still asleep.
Yes,
that's
still
amazing.
Asleep.
Oh my God. Hello. Habari. Habari, Mama. Habari. Tafadhali. Sisi nakuja tafuta wasichana moja ya samani.
Are any of these her?
That's you?
Yeah,
that is you?
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful.
You remember?
She does.
Yeah,
She remembers that. Selina, that was 30 years ago. That was in 1984. So how many children do you now have? 7 children.
7 children.
Is this your youngest child? Oh, look. Little fella. Yeah.
Sleep.
He's fast asleep. That's fantastic. Look, he's snoring. Can you hear him snoring? He's just fast asleep.
Maradom barno to. Yani ndog dunia siye kanako ita nalgon gitu. Sopate yi. This is the one.
Right now, present day.
Yeah.
Present day. And when she looks back, was that a happy time? Really, she prefers the present to the past. And what about for the future? Does she feel positive about the future?
What are the maisha imuga? Na maisha nalogo. Nada. Oh, this is the happiest. The one coming, nobody knows about him.
Of the 5 women we searched for, it was a sad blow to hear Alisa had died. But managing to find 3 of the women was far beyond my expectations. Since photographing them as girls, they'd raised families, they were well, and all 3 were grandmothers. I'm inspired by their resilience. The bedrock of Samburu culture does appear to have survived the pressures of a changing Africa. But what strikes me most was the way each of the women preferred to be living in the present, as opposed to looking back at their past or ahead to their future. That's a quality I value and admire enormously. There's one girl we were unable to trace. Nakwan, we were told, had moved to the city. The details of her life and her whereabouts remain a mystery.
One of the things that I find totally surprising is that 2 of those women had travelled so little. They were still within a few miles of where I'd photographed them 30 years ago. How do you explain that?
We Swahili say that matunda la miti itahanguka hapo hapo tu, haiwezi enda mbali.
The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
It's the same in English.
Yeah.
Kibriti. Nasema asante sana. Asante sana. Asante sana.
An unexpected hero coming up on BBC4, the athlete who broke the time barrier for mile runners and raised a nation's morale, with Seb Coe and the late Chris Chataway featuring the story of Roger Bannister, Everest, on the track next.
Africa!